Good morning, David Atkins, target individual. Okay, today I'm going to talk about different things, including different tactics being used against us, deep tactics, especially the Occam razor principle. This, which states the simplest answer is always the truth. The simplest explanation is always the best explanation, which is very damaging if people go off that. If you think about it, that means they don't do their research. They just, if somebody's got a deeper answer, so simplest answer playing off targeting is we're crazy. Anyway, this is going to get deeper than that. I'll just give an example. My verse is going to be Psalms 91, 1 through 2. Whoever dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of Almighty. We will say of the Lord, He's my refuge, my fortress. In Him I shall trust. That's verse 1 and 2. However, the whole psalm is very powerful. It's a prayer of God's protection. And David said it when he was on the run from Saul. And some even say David was gangsta. But anyway, there we go. Okay, government contractors and perps rely on global paradigm to keep their army of informant, provedicators, stalkers, etc., forcing the target individual into scripted mind games, where the victim is forced to respond to function and survive. It is done to appear common, ordinary, and expected to the casual observer and to even try and claim it's happening makes the victim appear delusional. It's often a violent and sometimes deadly game based on the Occam razor principle and other models of deception and manipulation, and is not an isolated event but a tactic used against people a lot, target individuals especially. It involves repetitive reinforcement using tactics which can be explained away to the casual observers. So they sensitize the whistleblower to the gaslighting and stalking, and when the target individual finally responds to the repeated daily minor or severe social aggressions, the delusional or mentally unstable depictions reinforced. At that point, the government informants and perpetrators turned into provocateurs will put the bait and switch with law enforcement, and the whistleblower set up and entrapped. Occam razor principle states the simplest answer is always the truth. The simplest explanation is always the best explanation. So a person can discredit another person simply by engaging in sufficiently complex scheme of harassment, and because the more complicated the truth, the less likelihood of belief by the ordinary person. The complexity of harassment will generally be sufficient to cause most people to turn away in disbelief. Hypergame theory, which I've done talked about, is a mathematical model. Basically means game theory applied to decision tree modeling. Mathematically proven that by constantly and perpetually altering any value in the model, one can constantly and perpetually alter that model's expected outcome. The CIA/DIA trauma-based mind control, the model is the mind control victim. So by constantly and perpetually altering any value in daily life, daily activities, etc., of the mind control victim, the CIA/DIA hive mind teams hiding behind and using law enforcement agencies to do their dirty work for over 2 decades can alter any value in the daily life, daily activities, etc. of the victim. I'm not saying all law enforcement is not involved. No, I would say 90% of them aren't, but you do have some that are. And sometimes I question myself, well, are the ones that are involved mind controlled? Because they can communicate via synthetic telepathy. You got to take in mind when all these people, say like I was at Denver airport, all of them started stalking me. Now what that was, they send hints through remote neural monitoring via synthetic telepathy into their head. They don't even realize they don't even realize what's been done, but they are stalking you. So you're not crazy, but that's how it's done. ELF waves or extra low frequency waves are used to torture the victim, engineer incoherency, or the government contractors then can capitalize off the mistakes or poor decisions they force their victims to make. Lord knows I've made some mistakes from this back in the past, and I'm sure I do a lot, but I'm getting better. The more trivial, paltry, fanciful, and fantastic the tactics used against the mind control victim, then by default, the more trivial, paltry, fanciful, fantastic the complaints of the victim that these trivial, paltry, fanciful, fantastic tactics are happening. Hypergame theory is achieved by perpetually basing one's next move off the opponent's last move, meaning the game never ends because there's always a higher optimum to choose from, always the next move to be made. Listen to this. The tactics and technology, including gaslighting and organized stalking, are designed to perpetually provoke targeted individuals emotionally each day so they can generate patterns of synaptic responses from victims, which can then be correlated by exascale supercomputers into what's called response statistics, which the remote neural monitoring system will then use to determine how to interpret and link descriptions with data captured about your memory references. This is why they are constantly trying to keep you talking or constantly getting in your face. Once they have consistent statistics, the system will use previous choice reference memories, and inject them into your subconscious thought during normal activity, which is also referred to as impulse injections, to convince you that the response is your own and influence you to complete or describe or the reference by making the appropriate verbalizing or performing a related action known as verification. Once they see what you respond to emotionally or intellectually, they will fabricate conversational or situational scenarios, street theater, based on events or topics they know will capture your attention. So they're logging all these responses down. So, say a car stops in front of my house and I elicit a response, especially a real negative response. Well, they log that and they put this into the supercomputer. The supercomputer, believe it or not, remote neural monitoring supercomputer works by generating algorithms, situation scenarios. A lot of times it ain't the perps picking the scenarios, it's the supercomputer giving the perps the orders, based off your first 3 or 4 phases of targeting. When they were logging all your responses in, they were logging them in, and it was going in this computer. So they got algorithms based off you, and the computer generates your targeting. And it is that deep. I'm not saying there's not paid neighbors and paid perps, not at all. But a lot of this is synthetic telepathy, and these perps are set up on a hive mind surveillance team via synthetic telepathy, and they're being used to stalk. But the computer, once you see, that's why you notice you get heavy stalking at first, and stalking. I mean, I get heavy stalking all the time, direct energy weapons. But what I'm saying is, they're logging them responses in when it first starts happening, and then the computer, your remote neural monitor network you're hooked up to, has all the algorithms and chooses the situations and scenarios, and communicates via synthetic telepathy. Now that's not always the case, but most of the time that's the case. Anyway, God bless you. I'll do another video tomorrow. Oh yeah, Lynette Castle, I shared that video with her. She was a dear friend of mine. We talked every day in 2017, 2019. The thing about Lynette Castle is, they actually acted like she might have had a relationship with that dude in the murder report, but she didn't. She never had a relationship with him. Matter of fact, she put on Facebook a picture of him and said he was gang stalking her, and everybody laughed at her. And when she got murdered by him, her sister put under a comment, "Why y'all laughing now? Y'all laughing now? Y'all don't think it's too funny now?" So basically they were saying she was crazy, but she wasn't. So rest in peace, Lynette. Anyway, hope this video ain't messed up like the other one. They distorted the sound on the one I did about infiltrating groups. So I don't seem to be having too many complaints. And somebody recommended me start putting my words in the transcript or something where it could be on the screen at the same time they're watching it, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Well, anyway, God bless y'all.